Hello guys, welcome back to TFD. Perhaps the most talked about storyline in all of women's basketball this year has revolved around one name, Caitlyn Clark. The Indiana Fever superstar had her entire 2025 season cut short, and for months, fans have been holding out hope that somehow, some way, she might make a miracle return in the playoffs. But according to a very clear assessment from Fever insider Scott Agness, those hopes need to be put to rest, and the update he gave on her injury recovery was as bleak as it gets. It all started back on July 15th against the Connecticut Sun, in the closing seconds of what had already been a frustrating game. Clark pulled up lame, clutching at her groin. While the injury didn't appear catastrophic in the moment, it was immediately obvious that it would sideline her for some time. At first, the timetable looked manageable, a couple of weeks off, maybe miss a handful of games, and then return in time for the playoff push. But things quickly snowballed in the wrong direction. By early August, fans were beginning to grow restless as Clark still hadn't suited up. Then came the real blow. On August 7th, during rehab, she suffered an ankle injury. This setback was the true turning point. What once looked like a brief pause became a season-ending reality. Week after week went by, and still no progress reports suggested that a comeback was on the horizon. Finally, on September 4th, Clark herself ended the speculation by announcing via social media that her 2025 season was over after just 13 games played. Still, Fever fans, and especially Clark's diehard supporters, couldn't help but cling to optimism. After all, Indiana had pulled off a deep playoff run, advancing to the semifinals. And to make things even more complicated, videos surfaced of Clark participating in pre-game shoot-arounds. She was taking shots, moving around, and smiling with teammates. Naturally, this sparked rumors. Could number 22 actually make a surprise return if the Fever kept advancing? But according to Scott Agness, that was nothing more than false hope. Appearing on Rachel DeMita's Courtside Club podcast on September 25th, he shut down the speculation once and for all. She's not returning. Listen, she is not returning, period, Agness emphasized. The reality is she's not in a position to play. Agness explained that while Clark has been able to shoot for months, which is why fans saw those workout clips floating around, her ankle still isn't right. What I noticed in Atlanta and then again in that video is she was still favoring that left ankle. She was not running completely smooth. Sure, she shot it well, but she's been able to shoot this whole time. And that's the tough pill to swallow. Shooting drills and game-level explosiveness are two very different things. While the Fever continue their playoff run, their brightest star is still watching from the sidelines. The good news? Clark has an entire offseason ahead to fully recover and prepare for 2026. But the bad news is clear. Even now, months later, that ankle still doesn't appear fully healed, leaving questions about her long-term durability lingering in the air.
Can you clear this up? Is there in any world where Caitlyn could come back during these playoffs?
First of all, she's not returning. Listen, she is not returning, period. Now, let's go to what you just read. First of all, I don't know where that's from. I tried to Google it, use AI. I could not find where that was from. I also went to the WNBA collective bargaining agreement, saw no such thing that existed. And then on top of that, the reality is she's not in a position to play. I posted the video down in Atlanta, and I strategically saved that to after game 3. That was, 5 hours till before game 3. And I'm like, look, Caitlyn, she's not going to play. This isn't a return. Let's hold this, and the focus should be on this game and these players. And then absolutely going to put that out because fans want to see it. They want to see any glimpse of what Caitlyn's doing. And I thought I saw there, and then again in the video, she was still favoring that left ankle. She was not running completely smooth. Now, given it's early in the morning, that was like the first 10 minutes of shoot around. Shot it well, but she's been able to shoot through all of this over the last several months.
So let's clear this up once and for all. Is there any world where Caitlyn Clark comes back during these playoffs? The answer is simple, no. From the very beginning, the Fever have been clear that she's not returning. Period. Now, about that report floating around, honestly, I don't know where it came from. I even tried to track it down myself, searched everywhere, dug into the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement and found absolutely nothing to back it up. There's just no evidence that such a scenario exists. The reality is Caitlyn is not in a position to play. I posted that video down in Atlanta, and yes, I held on to it until after Game 3 for a reason. Fans want to see every glimpse of what she's doing, but that doesn't mean she's suiting up. Even in that footage, you could see it, she was still favoring that left ankle. She wasn't running smoothly, even if she was shooting well. And to be fair, shooting hasn't been the problem. She's been able to do that through this whole recovery. Bottom line, Caitlyn Clark is not coming back for these playoffs. The focus now has to stay on the players who are out there grinding every night and trying to push the Fever through this series. That's where the attention belongs. Well, here we are. The WNBA semifinals between the Fever and the Aces officially shift back to Indianapolis this weekend for 2 huge games. Wednesday served as a travel day for both squads, but for the Fever, things didn't exactly go according to plan yet again. I don't know what it is about this season, but the bad luck just continues to pile up. The Fever were originally supposed to head out right after Game 2 in Las Vegas. Instead, mechanical problems with their plane forced them to spend the night there, and they didn't touch down in Indy until close to 7 a.m. That's not exactly the kind of rest and recovery you'd like heading into such a critical stretch. Fast forward to this afternoon, the Fever finally hit the main court inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse to prepare for Game 3 with the series tied at 1 apiece. Lexi Hull was present, but she had a wrap around her waist for extra warmth as she continues to battle through nagging issues. Honestly, given how many screens she's been plowing into and the countless loose balls she's been chasing all season, it's no surprise she's a little banged up. She was held out of practice as a precaution, and she didn't even attempt the half-court shot afterward, which says a lot. Odyssey Sims also raised a few eyebrows. She had her right knee looked at during practice, taped up as usual, but she definitely looked uncomfortable at times. Now, she played great in Game 2, dropping a team-high 18 points, so maybe it's nothing. Still, when you add it all up, it feels like one setback after another for this Fever group. Speaking of setbacks, Damiris Stantas was completely absent from practice today. Coach Stephanie White confirmed there's no new update, but remember, she entered concussion protocol a couple of weeks back and didn't even make the trip to Vegas. Her absence hurts on both ends, defensively for size alongside Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard, and offensively with her ability to stretch the floor and knock down threes. Based on what we saw today, it feels unlikely she'll be ready by Friday. On a lighter note, the post-practice half-court shot contest turned into a family affair. Karima Christmas Kelly and Austin Kelly both knocked theirs down, earning prize money for Sophie Cunningham and Ari McDonald, respectively. A fun moment for everyone after what's been a draining few days. At the end of the day, though, it's all about Friday night. The Fever still hold home court advantage after stealing Game 1, and now it's about protecting it in front of their fans at Gainbridge. Decorations are up, banners are hanging, and both teams are locked in. Game 3 is shaping up to be a battle.
I want her to take any hits or move, any kind of way that might aggravate it. Travel makes it difficult, certainly, but anticipate her being ready unless there's any sort of setbacks.
Damiris, same thing. Any update with her? Could she play tomorrow?
No update from Dee.
Steph, focus more on the positives from Game 1 or the negatives from Game 2?
I think a little bit of both. I think that every game requires a different version of ourselves. Every game it's heightened intensity. Every game it's better execution. Every game it's different kind of mentality. And most of our group hasn't been through this before. And I say it all the time. I know there's no substitute for experience, but that's a different kind of experience. Game 1 was one way for us, and Game 2 was different. We didn't meet their physicality. We didn't meet their intensity. We didn't meet that mentality. Vegas has been here before, and for us, we have to understand that tomorrow night is going to require a different level for us. So I think we focus on our missed opportunities for execution, but more than anything, the level which we need to play consistently, for us to put ourselves in position for success.
Kind of on that note, is it more about rising to like the intangibles if you're talking about, you know, the physicality, the mentality, and the aggression? Or, I mean, how much are you also, you know, there's the adjustments that you're making too?
I think some of it is. I think some of it's understanding the sense of urgency, understanding, you know, how every possession matters. I mean, 28 points off of turnovers, you know, not good enough. Understanding that you have to be able to withstand, you know, a knock, a punch in the face. You got to be able to withstand that. But their runs can't be as significant as they were. And then the execution piece of it. So compounded, you know, on top of where we just were kind of lethargic and didn't have the energy that's necessary, we didn't execute, and we've got to be able to do both.
How can you guys get the tempo that you had in game 1 back if it continues to be a physical series?
Yeah, I mean, we got to, again, try to keep them off the free throw line as much as possible, but we missed opportunities on their made shots too to get out and run. You know, there were times where we had opportunities to run and we walked the ball up the floor, or we dribbled it for 12 seconds, didn't get it moving. So we've got to know and be intentional about the other opportunities that we have that are in front of us that we didn't take advantage of.
How much of that do you feel like is fatigued just at this point of the playoffs?
You ain't got time to be tired at this point.
Can you come in? No, okay, so you know how physical games 1 and 2 have been. Can you start game 3 at a certain level, or you have to feel it out, see how it's going to be, and then go from there?
I mean, I think you should try to start it at a certain level. I mean, it's been inconsistent, you know, throughout the course of the season. So players are going to adjust, you know. So if it's called tight, then you adjust. And you know, I think it's a little easier to adjust to that than if it's not and it's physical and that's even more fatiguing, to your point. But I think at the same time, it's like this is not new. Right? It's not new how the games are called. So we have to make sure that we're ready.
When it comes to the inexperience that you're talking about of this group, how do you tap into players like Sid and Tosh who have been here before and have lifted the trophy?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for Sid, unfortunately, it's just got to be communication. And again, like, we can tell him about it all we want. You got to go through it. You know, you've got to go through it. And Tosh, same thing. It's like, but Tosh has to lead us by example as much as her communication. You know, she's got her multiple levels of effort, her attention to detail. You know, she's got to lead us through it in that way. But, you know, Sid, Breezy has been in it a little bit. Shay's been in it a little bit. But there isn't really any substitute for just being thrown into it and understanding the level that it takes.
What does home court mean, Steph, as a coach, and after you have stolen the home court advantage in the first 2 games?
I don't know. I mean, I think it probably meant more as a player to me than it does as a coach. You know, I think we've shown throughout the course of this league that teams can win at home, they can win on the road. It certainly gives us an advantage in terms of the emotion. And our players, when we hear the crowd, it does give you an added boost. It gives you some adrenaline, no doubt about it. I think the most important thing is you're sleeping in your own bed, right? You're making your own food. You're not eating out all the time. You know, all of those routine things. You know, the way that we're able to use our training room and recover. I think all of those things matter.
When you look back at Kelsey's game 2, I know you mentioned at the time that you thought maybe she's a little fatigued, but, you know, going back through the shots, was it just missing shots she normally make, or are there ways to get her easier looks?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I don't know at this point if there's, you know, ways to get her easier looks, just because we're kind of limited. You know, our floor spacers are sitting on the sideline, so that makes it really tough. But I do think that we can move her around more, and you know, so that she's not always, you know, in the same spot on the floor, so that she's getting touches on second and third side of offense, as opposed to, you know, first, second, and third option, you know, for us. And that means more movement from everybody else. I felt like one of the things that allowed them to defend her the way that they did was nobody else was cutting. Like, our off-ball cutting and our off-ball screening was really good in game 1, and that forced everybody to be engaged on the defensive end of the floor, and we didn't have that in game 2.
Steph, Nancy Leonard passes away. Obviously, the impact she had with the Pacers and de facto the fever probably coming here. But what's the legacy that she has in the city?
I mean, her legacy is unmatched. You know, you think about the history of Nancy and Slick, certainly, and what they've meant to this franchise, and what they've meant to the sport, and what they've meant from a leadership position, you know, in our community. You know, certainly a legacy that's well cemented, and one that, you know, me being from Indiana, you know, and of course, you know, seeing the banner up there, and having been a part of this organization for a long time is really close to my heart.
Hey, Steph, what ways does Wilson become positive through the torso?
I mean, she's her will. Like, I think about her will and her competitive fire in much of the same way I think about Tamika's. It, like, there's a I will not be denied type of mentality. There are good days and there are bad days, certainly, but the competitive fire and will to win, that's just unmatched. So that first and foremost. I think secondly, just the way that she's been able to move herself around on the floor, running the inverted actions, attacking off the bounce, stretching from the 3-point line, being able to get the ball in multiple positions on the floor. That forces you to rethink how you're going to match up and who you're going to match up with. And so she continues to add to her game. She continues to become more efficient and more active, I would say, even with and without the ball